thought your some of your comments on the call today were pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's this has been such an interesting week for me. Um, and I think, last week our conversation, this whole idea, this weekend when I was talking with a friend and who's so successful, both business wise and financially. And then for her to say to me, I wish I could assert myself that way and and I'm like, you make 4 times what I make, right? Like and then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I think it's more important to be right and respected than it is to be financially abundant. And then I looked at why I wanted to be financially abundant. I'm like, it's just because I'm completely afraid of the opposite. Like there was no joy or, good reason. It was like, I'm just afraid of poverty.
Yeah. I liked your comment about being loud when you get passionate about something, because to me, that's like the energy is flowing and it kind of flows out from you, and you're projecting this energy from the universe. Joshua tells us that the reason you feel energy and energized is it comes from source, right? Which I kind of knew, because sometimes when I'm really tired, if I'm doing something I'm really excited about, I'm not tired, then I do something that feels like a chore and I'm exhausted. Anyway, so you talk about your energy and the family are like, Dad, you're so loud. It's like, yeah, I am. It's my energy. I do that. And I love it.
People have a tough time responding to that, because, even when when I get loud and I get passionate, people tend to be like, whoa, easy.
So,
and I'm like,
the thing is, like, what do you expect? Like an Italian American who worked on Madison Avenue, a New Yorker, it's like, what do you expect? You expect I'm going to be quiet and thoughtful like an academic? Maybe not.
Yeah, but I've always been that way growing up.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. It's that, the more excited I got, the louder I got. And
well, I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. Yeah, so those were good comments. That was good.
Thank you.
There was 2 things I was thinking about before we zoomed in here. One was I followed this LOA thread, Law of Attraction thread, on Reddit, and some of the comments and people there are really awesome and in my opinion really get it, which rhymes with Reddit. And some of the people there think that LOA is like some kind of Jedi mind trick. I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to weave this magical spell, and hey presto, I'm going to get this job, this amount of money, or my perfect life partner, that kind of thing. So I've found a couple of classic quotes that I'll read to you in a minute. And if we get time, because we only got like 25 minutes here today now, if we get time, then I also had quite a big realization in that call this morning around all of my life I've been really fit and slim, and now I'm not. And it's like, what's that about? And I found it hard to motivate myself to change. And then I also thought, okay, for, decades and decades, I was making a heap of money and, had 2 or 3 houses and lots of cars and all that sort of stuff. And now I have less of that. And it's like, how come I can't just shed those extra pounds? And how come I can't just make those millions again like I used to? So I got some thoughts around fit versus fat and rich versus poor. And I realized it's all to do with the same thing. So I might start with that, actually, because that's kind of...
Yeah, I want to hear that. I love that. Yeah.
So I think it's very, very simply that I think, right, I know what I should eat and I'll get out my cycle and all that stuff. And then I'm not really doing it. I always used to do that stuff, right? I have no problem eating thoughtfully and consciously and getting out swimming or cycling or hiking or whatever, going to the gym. So then I think, well, why is this? And then the same with the money thing. I realized that if I had the status and the millions and the job I had previously, then I would never have gone down this path. So I do understand that. And I kind of knew that 10 years ago, that I was not listening and it was going to keep on increasing in its, what would be the word? The manifestation means to become more intense. The intensity would increase until I finally woke up, slapped myself around the head and wake up. So I realized that was going on, but fundamentally, I realized, oh, okay, Joshua says that my current situation, whether it's my weight or money or whatever, is completely and totally, utterly my creation, a reflection of how I see myself, right? That's the perfect representation of my current thoughts and emotions and feelings and alignments and everything. And so I know it's kind of obvious, but I thought, well, instead of trying to think about what should I eat and I should drink less wine and get out my bike more often, it's like, why don't I just change how I feel about myself? In other words, truly believe in my deep and essential worthiness, and also make sure that I'm looking to do things out of passion, not out of obligation. And I found that I'm doing more and more of my work and enjoying it, stuff that I felt was a chore before, because I'm kind of doing it from a sense of appreciation and love towards the clients I'm working with. They're all people I like and respect and admire. So, we don't have any pain in the ass clients anymore. We got rid of them, and we're attracting people we really like now. So I realized that actually I'm looking at it from the wrong point of view. I know this is really obvious and it's kind of LOA 101, but it's like, okay, the real secret is just to change how I think about myself and to appreciate myself as I am, rather than actually try and think about, I wish I had fewer pounds around my waist, that kind of thing.
I like that. And it's funny, but I have the same thought on fit versus fat. And I think you and I had that conversation a couple of different times. I'm always like, why can't I just drop the extra 15 pounds? Like, what's going on? Like, why does it just come off? But you're right. It's like, you do have to appreciate yourself just the way you are to be able to lose the pounds. Because if you're not right, if you're not in love with yourself and appreciating yourself, you're not going to be able to attract more of that.
Well, you see, the thing is, if I look back, the way I got slim and fit or stayed that way all my life was partly through effort and struggle. Like I would make myself go to the pool and swim laps and all that kind of stuff, and do sprints and so on, and get out in the cycle, which I love. There's many parts about it that I love, but there was quite a lot of effort and struggle there, to actually go and do that stuff and go to the gym. Sometimes I felt good about it, and other times it's like, I really don't want to go to the gym today, but I'll do it anyway. So I realized that I got there by effort and struggle, but now I don't want to do that. I actually want to feel good about myself, and then I believe the rest will come. And the same with the business and the money part. And I realized that with the money part, for years and years and years, I made a lot of money. Like I remember back in 1983, I made like 120 grand that year, which back then was quite a lot of money. And I made in subsequent years, I made a lot more. But the point is that it was a lot of effort and struggle to do that, especially, in subsequent years when I lost the passion for it. And then but then when I joined as a partner in a bigger firm, I had like 40% of a much bigger firm with, 45 staff and so on. I got dividends off my stock in the business, so that didn't really feel like I had to work for that, if you know what I mean. So that was the first time that there was a disconnect between effort and struggle and receiving money, because these, 6-figure dividends would float into my bank account, which was pretty awesome. And then eventually when I sold out of that business, I walked away with a big fat check. And that was just a deal that I did pretty much over a period of a week, So like people say, oh, well, you have to work really hard to make millions. And you could say I had worked hard to get there. But when that moment happened, when I received the biggest single check in my life, it wasn't actually about anything other than a deal or an idea. And a lot of it was an idea because the whole deal turned very nasty, and I ended up, 2 things happened. One is I bluffed these other guys that as I was in a position to reverse the deal and take them over, which they didn't want. And I didn't really have that lined up at all, but I got them to believe that was my position. And then, so that was just an idea, right? A thought. And then the second thing is that one of my ex-business partners tried to pull this legal stunt on me, but he hadn't done his homework, and it backfired and cost him a lot more money. So you can see the hand of fate or the universe in that deal as to how it came together. It was not about effort and struggle when I got the biggest single check in my life. So I realized, okay, so I've had moments where I've managed to do these things from inspiration and joy, and there have been times when I've loved swimming and cycling and hiking, doing it out of sheer passion rather than I need to get out and exercise. But a lot of it was a belief I have to effort and struggle. Whereas now I think my current circumstances are a perfect reflection of what's going on in my thoughts and my emotions and my beliefs. And therefore, the way to actually have more of what I want and less of what I don't want to explore anymore is to change how I see myself. And I've had so many manifestation events that I'm processing around this in the last week or two. Like even during that call this morning, I think I filled in 2 or 3 manifestation event forms of stuff that was just pouring in, just insane.
Wow.
And it's all around the same stuff. So that was that anyway.
The you know, it you know, this whole rich versus poor, right? It's effort and struggle, right? We're taught. I mean, I think there was, I mean, even, you know, I just saw something the other day, you know, work 20 hours a day, you know, and, you know, barely pay your bills. I mean, there is such a huge, you know, social presence of work hard, struggle, and get by, right? Versus, you know, live, prosper, you know, in a prosperous way. And for me, trying to understand that, you know, even those exercises we talked about, you know, that I am worthy, that, you know, it's funny, you'd find a bag of money, you want to give it to somebody, right? We don't receive, anytime we're given opportunities to become wealthy or prosperous, we don't deem ourselves worthy, and we pass on it or give it away.
Yeah, or it comes in a way that you're not expecting, or it's not part of your mindset, and it wasn't part of your plan. So you either don't even notice it, or you choose to ignore it. And I noticed, that's one of the things I noticed when I first met Gary, is he's got a very open-minded, he's very open-minded about how he would receive money. He's not fixed in any way whatsoever. If it's going to flow to him, then he's in that river and it's flowing to him.
Yeah, you know, that's sort of the next, I think, hurdle for me, right? When do I make that connection? When is that the idea that, and I don't necessarily like working for people. I don't think I want to work for people. The constant back and forth and drama and emotion is just unnecessary in life, and literally absorbs all of your time, right? And all of your energy. So what is that? How do you get to that place where, you know, as Steven said on the call today, you're not, you know, in a ball on your couch saying, you know, universe, bring me a Ferrari, universe, bring me a Ferrari, right? But you're
That's
actually
what the people on Reddit are saying, which I'll read to you in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it is about, you know, becoming aligned and taking that inspired action, right? Identifying that inspired action, becoming aligned and moving towards, you know, for me, it's, you know, I go back and forth between, you know, managing and running companies to, you know, becoming a life coach. Like, what is that you want to become? An expansion coach. And I get excited when I talk about what we're talking about, and I'm bored out of my mind and frustrated with effort and struggle when I run companies. I deal with people that literally it's a waste of my energy to have the conversation, because it's either emotional conversation on nothing that's going to grow the company or push the company forward. I'm all about, my whole conversation is, I get it. How do we move forward? Like, I can't change what happened yesterday. I can't change what happened an hour ago. I can't change what happened a year ago, but I can actually influence what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. Right. And at that level of management, right, that's where you need to be. I'm not the guy doing, you know, making the code calls, right? The sales call, that's a different structure. So I find myself, you know, leaning towards and going into, and my daughter even said to me, Dad, all you keep telling me is you don't have time anymore.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow.
It took me a year or 18 months of doing boot camps to understand what lack of time was about. And then Joshua one day said, maybe I've been asked a question. They said, lack is lack, whether it's time, money, health, freedom, relationships, love, whatever. Lack is lack. If you're experiencing lack, that's your thought.
Right. It's funny. And it's funny because my daughter is asking me to do things that I don't necessarily want to do. Right. So,
right.
And I'm like, well, you know, and I'm like, well, it's funny because her interpretation is that, you know, I never have time. And my interpretation is, well, I do have time, but I'm going to focus, and I'm spending time with them, but there are in the middle of the day, you know, let's go shopping together. I'm like, okay, no, I don't have time. Right. There is some, because everyone is working from home now. It's a different dynamic with your kids. These questions that came in, I would have been at the office. A question never would have come in.
Yeah.
But it did take me a moment to take a deep bath and go, wait a minute, am I living in the lack of, and I'm like, I kind of have the time to do everything I want.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends. Like partly that's about, I don't want to go shopping with you, but I do want to go and I think you guys went to lacrosse or something. So
I do, and every night we do.
right,
We go to lacrosse
right.
together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I do want to go to the field or whatever. I do want to do that with you, but I don't want to go shopping. Doesn't interest me. And so I guess you might change your dialogue because I don't have time as an affirmation of lack. Whereas
you're right. You're right.
I'm choosing to work right now, honey.
Yeah, yeah.
This is my work time right now. So I'm working, not shopping.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, but I didn't want to defend myself, right? So in those situations, you defend your limiting beliefs, right? If you start saying, "Well, I know," like, "Whoa, wait a minute, I just saw it and sat and listened." But I think for me, you brought this up. I have to be satisfied with where I am at the moment and appreciate where I am at the moment. And that exercise, like, what would you do with $100 million? I know what I would do with $100 million. There's plenty of things I would do with $100 million. I could spend that in one day, and I wouldn't buy a car, and I wouldn't go and paint my house, right? And there are many, many things. I know which company I would go to right then and then, plop it down and say, I'm now 50% owner. I would do one big thing and become an owner. And there are, for me, it's always that next bigger step.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't have an objective like to buy half of a business. So it's like, well, what do I do with 100 million? Because last time I did that exercise, I pretty much gave it all away to various people. And then it was like, what do I do with the rest?
That is super powerful, right? When Jessica took us through that today, the fact that I was doing the same thing when I was doing something, I was realized I was giving, and I think I did the same thing, like 50% away to my family. Like what?
Yeah. We got
like,
two friends in India who are incredible young guys, and I would love to fund them some more into what they do because they're just so incredible. Anyway, but that's a story for another day. And I've thought about that a lot, and I'd like to do some more. Hey, shall I read you some of these?
Yeah, I'd love to.
LOA things. I manifested my dream person, which took years to attract, but I embarrassed myself and they've stopped talking to me. How do I manifest them back fast?
That's awesome, by the way. People really are that move that it's the book The Secret, right? It really did it kind of put people.
Yes, it gave people the idea this is a tool you can turn on and fire it like a laser beam and get a thing. Help me manifest my ex back.
Oh my goodness.
Can I just try to manifest $20 to see if LOA works?
Wow.
Manifested, this is a cracker. This is an excellent one. I was going to say this is a word we use, a cracker, which means something really cool. Manifested a dream guy, but he's not good in the bedroom.
Wow,
you left that off your list. You left that off your list.
That's insane. So it's so funny. So these are all people that believe they're using the law of attraction in their favor.
I manifested a pair of shoes that had previously sold out. Big news, big news. I'm about to give up on LOA. I have been trying to manifest love for 16 years. I'm now 33. Since I was 17, I'm about to give up on LOA, which is a fascinating concept because if one was to believe in LOA, it's not something you can turn on and off. It's like you are attracting all this stuff, whether you want to be doing it or not. It's happening either way. So it's not like you can walk in and turn this thing on and then walk out and turn it off again. So that was a whole post, that she's got a dream job and great education and everything else, living in an amazing place, traveled the world, best family and friends. Embarrassed, this will come off as me thinking I'm the shit. I really don't, but I'm pretty smart, funny, and I really do think any guy who will end up with me will be very lucky. Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing I won't do for the people I love. I love to keep people happy, la, la. Anyway, so that was all pretty interesting as well. That was an absolute classic. I manifested my fave singer to release a song. Manifesting in someone else's reality. That's pretty clever too.
I don't even know how to say that.
Unpopular opinion. I don't think if we want a healthy and harmonious relationship that we should manifest people already in relationships. The end of divorce, right? The end of breakups.
That's the best one, by the way.
Can you actually attract a specific person? Then there's someone else who's been told that anything like LOA is black magic. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting, and I've selected, it took about 5 minutes to curate that awesome collection, but and a lot of stuff in there is really good, and people who do get it. But I was fascinated by that kind of because Gary said he discovered The Secret and then Abraham and then so on. And he thought, oh, great, I can make my millions back. And he also said to me that by far, we were talking to about offering a few meditations as a download on the website, that people can get 2 or 3 for free. And he said, money and relationships, money and love are the ones that everybody's interested in. And so I noticed that many people who have come to Gary's work, Joshua's work, initially, if you go back a few years, it was about seeking more financial prosperity or seeking love and relationships. Those were the key drivers. And there's still some people doing that, but I've noticed actually that there are more and more people who have already kind of moved on past that and really are ascending and are on a whole different trajectory in this current group we're working with now, that it's actually shifted. And I guess as Gary has shifted, then he's attracted people who are very happy in their relationship, got plenty of money and it's not an issue, very successful. And I'm thinking of my current partner in this work as an example. She's absolutely like that. And she's very much a conscious creator, and she gets things done at an extraordinary pace. Like, the daily plots, like, they come out about 2 a.m. our time. And by the time I wake up, they always have them on my phone there. She does not muck around. Like, if she thinks she gets an idea, she's inspired, the thing is done. Like, she started doing boot camps, so she wrote a book and started a podcast, like,
God bless her.
Yeah. So anyway, I noticed that there are far more people in the group who come from that place and speak that way now, than I want more money, or, my relationship is crap.
Yeah, for me, it's, I was attracted to him because I was attracted just in terms of inspired, action, to seek out channeling, right, and to learn more about it and get involved with it. I went and had personal sessions with many channels right before I reached out to Gary, and he was the first one I connected with. Read all those books as well. But for me too, it's I started when we did the boot camp. It was a spiritual journey, and it was always been, money, I think, is just, in abundance, has always been something that I thought in my mind that would give me the freedom to do the life I want to do, right? Never have to worry about it again, never have to work for another human being again, never have to worry about anything ever again, and just do what you want to do. Even if I had $100 million in the bank, I'd still be taking these courses. To your point, it is about that spiritual connection. It is about, making sure that I feel that I'm worthy, right?
Yeah.
That I'm worthy of it. And that's really where it's gotten to. Like, if I had $100 million in the bank today, I'd still be on this call with you. I'd still be doing everything I'm saying. So if that's the case, then why do I need it?
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things about that exercise is like, what would I do if I had the $100 million? And I wouldn't change the car that I have. I'll probably, get another motorbike, because I haven't had one of those for a while. But, you're not talking a lot of money there out of 100 million. And, we'd buy a nice house in a place we want to live. And that might, the most will be a few million for there, because it's not an expensive area that we like compared to the big city. And it's like, oh, okay, so we buy a house, put aside a bit of money, and, so portfolio, and buy a motorbike. What else am I going to do? It's like, oh, okay, I had to start giving it away because there's nothing else I want to do. And then it comes to that thing where I used to fund a lot of people and a lot of things. And I think it was to get love, respect, and affection and all that kind of stuff. But I noticed that if I do something for the people these days, it's because I really want to do it. And it comes from a completely different place. And I asked Joshua a question about that, and was because I wondered if it was possible to give without trying to do it to get something for yourself. And they said, yeah, the fact that you had such a sense of fun and enjoyment and excitement when you were doing it tells you that you were doing it from a place of love, not transactionally.
Yeah, it's moving away from a transactional experience with money, right? That's the biggest hurdle, right? To realize that it's just energy, and the only way you're going to attract that energy is if you're aligned with it. Right. And you got to align with it by feeling good, by appreciating yourself, by believing you're worthy, and by understanding that before money comes last, right? The self-love and all that joy and everything comes first. And if you don't do that, then the money never comes. And if it does come, it's just come in a manifestation event and it's just gonna make your life miserable.
Well, in a way, I felt even less happy, more unhappy after I did that deal and got all that money a few years ago, you know, when I didn't have to work for many, many years after that. But I kind of papered over the cracks by spending the money and doing incredible things and beautiful trips overseas and all that, you know, buying lots of expensive cars and blah, blah, blah. And, but for various reasons, I actually felt worse when I got that money than I did before. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, it's true. I get that on the worry and everything that gets attached to it. Once again, it's if you take yourself with you wherever you go, rich, poor, right?
that is so true. That is such a true thing. Yeah. And I think part of it was because I'd lost in my mind the status and power I'd had as a business owner and making all this money, and that persona was gone. And then, well, who am I and what will people think?
Crazy. It really is.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. I know that I had my identity tied to my company. And when that was gone, I literally lost myself and I didn't know who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. You talked about that in one of our previous calls, and I totally got that. I really understand it. And I think your wife said, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, move to Arizona, et cetera, et cetera. And she realized that, like, okay, where do I go next? Okay, I'll take charge for a bit and we'll do this.
And it's so strange, right? If you think about it, and I always say I'm just better with money, right? And that's the problem. That's my lack, right? No, I need to be better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a comment I said. I'm just better with money.
I read this book about this Indian guru guy years ago. I can't remember who it was now, but he basically had nothing at all. And he just trusted if he wandered from village to village that people would feed him and give him a place, you know, to sleep at night. Like he just trusted that this would happen, and it never occurred to him it wouldn't, and it just constantly did. He had nothing apart from the clothes he wore, and that was his life. Incredible.
There are, I think there was what was the book? Was it I forget, The Adventures of a Yogi or whatever it was. But yeah, this is for me. My whole big hurdle is that it seems like I put everything on pause until.
Yeah. I've done that too.
And that's the issue, right? That's the problem.
That I've done that as well. I know you've got a meeting at 2 p.m.
I do.
Eastern.
I'm actually going to jump on it right now. So unfortunately, I got to jump on.
That's cool. Great to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
Same time, same place next week.
Awesome.